the whole summer was spent getting the album done and then getting it ready for tour, and then touring the album, obviously, so fans get to know the music and then we can play it live and people, know the words and everything. But it's great to finally put out a project, especially through a label, and giving it this proper treatment, because it's the first time I've ever put out like a debut album through this big platform, and just seeing the reaction and people's response and just the positivity and love towards it has just been so overwhelming, and I really can't thank my fans enough for overwhelming support, and yeah, I'm eager to put out more stuff because I love the feedback so much. I'm like, I want to put out more stuff now because this feels good to get such positive reinforcement. So. Intro. So I wanted to start off the album with something that was sonically in my head what I pictured the album beginning to sound like. The lyrics in it, one of the big lyrics of the intro record is, "I'm not looking for perfect, just for someone who takes it slow." And a lot of people think that's like a romantic metaphor, but in actuality, it's just talking about somebody who I want to spend time with, who is not so caught up in the busy nightlife of New York or LA, or what young people like to do commonly these days. I'm more of an introvert. I like to kind of lay low and just hang out with friends and take things easy. So Straightjacket is about a typical person that I think everyone has dealt with in their life at one point, that's two-faced, who acts a certain way in public and totally different behind closed doors. And I dealt with a girl my senior year of high school who I dated, who was the exact same way. And one day in the studio, granted, it was 4 years later, it popped into my head. I was like, why am I not talking about this? I feel like it's such a relatable topic. I might as well, speak on it. And it kind of just came out naturally, and yeah, the rest is sort of history. Worst is about another relationship song, kind of just dealing with two people who are so their own people and different that it works. It's kind of like the whole opposites attract idea. And again, I think that's something that people deal with every day, is they meet people that are so different, but somehow their differences are what actually compel them to be so close and similar at the same time. Flare Guns is featuring my friend Chelsea Cutler, and Flare Guns is about having this person in your life who, it could be a friend, it could be a romantic counterpart that you just know you're not supposed to call, but something in your head just is telling you go for it. No, I'm sorry, something in your head's telling you not to go for it, but in your heart, and you just feel like you need to do it anyways. So I say flare guns go off in my head saying not to call you this late. So but that was a cool visual, warning signs going off, don't call this person, don't do it, it's 3 a.m, you're drunk, don't make this mistake. But at the end of the day, you do it because something inside you is telling you you have to can't let go of this feeling you have. So. Fake Denim is about spending too much on someone, spending too much that you can't afford to spend on someone that you care about. And I think a lot of my guy friends are doing that right now currently with girlfriends and people they're pursuing, because they have good jobs and everything, but they're definitely not millionaires, and nor am I. And so I feel like this was sort of the poor man's Gold Digger, Kanye West version, but just of my perspective on it. And yeah, just talking about sort of spending over your means for somebody you care about, and then kind of realizing this person was never really in for it for the right intentions to begin with. So Don't You was kind of a more random song to put on the album, and it just kind of speaks about a relationship that's about two people that kind of are wild and crazy and kind of are just careless and just kind of are young and youthful. And yeah, that was way more natural. A lot of thought didn't really go into that. It was more I wanted to make something that was really chill and kind of had really cool groovy guitar aspects to it, kind of similar to something like a Jack Johnson record, or just a little different than what fans know me for doing. And the topic just sort of came out naturally, and I think it's a fun, youthful song about just two people that are doing stuff crazy but still have this close relationship. And 60 Seconds is, I think, in my opinion, the most relatable topic on the record, because it's the day I wrote this song everything that I experienced that day was in the song. So I was going to a studio session in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles, and it started off, it's just one of those days where the universe just isn't on your side, where I woke up and I have two other roommates in LA, and my driveway is very narrow, so their two cars were blocking mine, so I had to get an Uber. My Uber was 30 minutes late. The traffic was terrible. Getting to the hills is an hour from where I live, so the whole day was just like I had a massive migraine, and by the time I got there, it was like, you know what, guys, I already know what I want to talk about. I just had the worst experience getting here, so that came out very naturally, and I think, again, that's just one of those days that everyone goes through no matter what it is, and yeah, I think people are really connecting with that one in particular a lot. Walls is really interesting, in my opinion, because it just kind of speaks on the barriers that I think we face with in terms of like social media and sort of what you see online and what people post, and not necessarily even social media, but just like exteriors people kind of like fronts people put on, but in reality that could be something so different. And I bring up social media because it's so easy to go on someone's Instagram page and be like, oh, they're living this great life, but then you see them in person and they're just like, oh, I've been dealing with so much stuff, and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect to hear that answer. Tourist is about my life and how I moved to LA recently, about a year ago, and how I can see myself sort of getting attached to LA and like the flashiness and the coolness of the partying and the lifestyle and all that stuff and everything that goes along with the whole Hollywood thing. But also looking at myself 10 years down the line. I even say in the song, like, the second verse is actually, I don't explain it in the song, but the second verse actually takes place like years later, and it's like, okay, I'm actually fed up with LA now. Like, somebody like, get me out of this. Why did I come out here in the first place? So it starts off like, don't leave me alone because I'm really addicted to this lifestyle, and then it ends up being like, why am I here? Somebody please like grab onto me, let's go. And I think that's really like the narrative with LA is you get sucked into it so easily. I think it's so attractive off like a first impression, and then you finally start to see what goes on and kind of the depth of it. And for me at least, like being from the Midwest, and I'm learning more and more that there's things about it I just don't love a lot. I love LA, but there's aspects of it that I definitely don't need in my life for sure. One Day at a Time is about, it was really inspired by my high school relationship, and at the time I was going off to college and my current girlfriend was in high school, and just about like that last night you have with someone and you don't really know, because at the time like you're in high school, you think everything is the most important thing in the whole world and every decision you make is going to be life or death, and it's about that last night you have with someone before you kind of leave things up to fate and see where things go. And yeah, one day at a time is just being like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but let's just like see what happens one day at a time, literally. And yeah, and it's about, in my experience, it was about going to college and leaving someone behind and not really knowing what was gonna happen, and sure enough, things didn't work out. But I think that's something young kids deal with, and it's like the most heartbreaking thing sometimes, or it's the best, sometimes they go to school together and things work out and it's great. But yeah, I thought, again, just something that people can really latch on to and the younger fans can really connect with. Always Been You, just an ode to someone who's always been behind like your corner, and always just been a good friend or a loved one or someone who's just always had your back, and just like that person who's been like your rock your whole life. So I thought that was like a nice way to end the album too. Sonically too, it's my favorite song on the album. I think it's really cool and vibey, and stuff that I really want to do more as far as like live instrumentation on records. And yeah, I think it just ends really nicely and just rounds out the project really well. So I was happy to put that as the last track on the album.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos from your favorite artist. And while you're here, check out these other videos.